Hey everyone, Golden Ninja 3000 here again. For episode 11 of World Builder Wednesdays, we're taking a look at the adventures of Nautica Cruz. Created by the architect James Ensay, hope I'm saying that right, this is a really awesome world about underwater creatures and a lot of magic and adventure. I really love it because, this architect has created so many worlds that are just so cool, but this one in particular, I love the underwater theme, I love the minifigure builds, and there's just so much to explore here. So speaking of the minifigures, let's start out by taking a look at the characters. We just got 8 here, but they're all really detailed, and I love what this user has done. So we have our main character here, Nautica Cruz. This is a custom minifigure, and I love the color that the architect picked for her. That light aqua and with the red hair, I think it looks really awesome and exactly how, like an underwater creature would look. And she does have, a detailed description and everything, which I love to see because I feel like a lot of times characters aren't very well fleshed out, but that's definitely not the case here. Then we've also got the main villain, which is Davey Jones. No, not the one from Pirates of the Caribbean, although he does have not a tentacle beard, but it is flowing in the wind, and he seems to have some like tentacle smoke-like things that instead of legs. And I really love this minifigure as well. That's the Hades piece from Disney Minifigures Series 2, and again, it's been custom made with like drawing or painting or something, and I just really love the whole ghost pirate idea. I love pirates in general, so I really like seeing some pirate mythology in here. We've also got other characters as well, but those two are my favorites, and there's actually a pretty awesome build for this character. It's another ghost called the Aquanaut. And I love the build here because you can see it's the size of one of like the little Marvel mech sets that LEGO makes, like the little $10 mechs. But it's such a cool build, and it uses that old style sea diver helmet from Series 8, which we haven't seen since. And so I really like this whole character design. And going back to that idea of mythology, we do have a lot of different factions here under society. We've got the ghosts led by Davey Jones, but then you've also got krakens, sirens, and mermaids. So I really love, again, I really like ocean stuff. I'm a big fan of Pirates of the Caribbean, which this seems to be like a tiny bit inspired by. And so I would really love to see like some art in here. You'll notice there isn't a lot of collaboration yet. There's just one proposed society element here, and it doesn't seem to be anything of significance. So I would really love to see some contributions for minifigures, for these mermaids, and like a build for a kraken. That would be really awesome to see. There's only one history element here, which is kind of disappointing because it does tell you about, like what happened to the sea, why it's not as magical anymore, and like how Nautica Cruz kind of sets up how she's going to be bringing some of that back. But I would really love to see more about Davey Jones. Like there are teases of him like in his character description in this, but I'd really like to know more about his history and like getting a little bit more personal with him. Then as for the places, we do have Barnacle Bay, which I think is pretty cute. As you can see, it's just the hidden side lighthouse and shrimp boat. But it looks like it's been like changed a little bit. We don't have the ghost stuff poking out as much, but I actually think that these are great little additions to this world that is filled with magic. And then we've got Davey Jones's locker, but there's no art for it. I would really love to see someone like draw something up or even build something, but I feel like a drawing might be even cooler to represent like this ghostly realm. This world does have great storylines though. We have The Adventure Begins, which is of course about the adventure beginning, but then we have details about what was the first adventure. It's about finding the heart of the sea. So I really like how detailed these are. It's such an interesting world that this architect has created. But what I think is even more interesting is this element, that after the story of Nautica Cruz is over, there's actually going to be a crossover. So it looks like she's going to be crossing over into this architect's own superhero team. I don't know who these other characters are. They might be in the other worlds. I haven't explored fully a lot of his other worlds, although I have seen like the basics of a couple of them. And so he says the Immortals coming soon. So I'm definitely going to be watching out for this world, because if this is like a multi-world crossover thing, I think that that's super interesting and a fantastic idea. And I really like these characters. They don't look like other superheroes. Like Nautica Cruz is underwater, but she's not Aquaman. So I'm pretty interested in seeing what comes of that. And as is typical for a lot of worlds, the last 3 element sections aren't very well fleshed out. No resources, just a couple of items that are all, you know, like pretty basic things. And then we do have some transport, though. I do think this is interesting because so you've got the SS Megalodon here, submarine captained by Jonah Calhoun, who was one of the characters that we didn't really look at. This is super cool to me, though, because this is like Garmadon's walking shark mech from the Ninjago movie that's been modified into a submarine. I really like that, you know, like taking a build that already exists and just changing it up for your own world. And actually, that's what they've done here, too. The Reaper's Blade is a ghost pirate ship. And you'll notice it looks exactly like the Silent Mary from Pirates of the Caribbean, which would usually mean that I would need to remove it from World Builder because we're not allowed to have licensed IPs. But there's like nothing specific. Like the only thing that makes it look like the Silent Mary is the hull and the sails, because it does have the same core build, but it's been completely modified. So a lot of the dilapidated sections have been removed. The hull has been repaired more. They've changed the front a little bit, it looks like, and they've completely modified the back to make it minifigure compatible. So I think that that's really awesome. This looks like a great build to me. I originally thought it was just the Silent Mary, but it's actually been modified quite extensively. So I would love to see other pirate ship builds and stuff added in here as well. All right, so I'm here with James, the creator of Nautica Cruz. James, why don't you start out by telling us about your background with LEGO?
All right, thank you, Erday. I'd say my history with LEGO began back in 2008. I was very young, needless to say, and I had basically no previous knowledge of LEGO when my mom got me a couple of small sets that were from the Indiana Jones line. Very small, very basic, and that was really the start of something much bigger than even either of us could have predicted, because LEGO since then has since become my passion. It just evolved from there. It went to Star Wars, and it went to Batman, and then it spread out to all kinds of other themes and genres, and just LEGO building itself became one of my passions very, very quickly.
That's great to hear. Yeah, I definitely like that. That's right when I started getting into LEGO too, although I didn't like fully get into it until like 2010, but it always starts with that small stuff and then just snowballs into where it is today.
Yeah, it is so fun.
All right, so how did you find out about LEGO World Builder?
Well, I am a regular visitor of Lego.com. I keep up to date on LEGO news, and when I found out about LEGO World Builder, I found it just by the headline on Lego.com, and I investigated further, and I saw it was a place where you can share your LEGO worlds, your creations, where you share not just builds but stories, and that's the part that really interested me. Like, you can share your own ideas, and it just seemed like such a wild concept to me that I definitely wanted to look into, and that's how I discovered World Builder.
Yeah, that's awesome. I feel like a lot of people are hung up on the idea of sets. That's like something I've noticed, like especially lately. A lot of people are hung up on the idea of like, okay, so like what gets made into a set, and it's like, but we have ideas for sets, like world builders for like actual, you know, like storylines and everything. And I mean, you created some great storylines. So if you guys haven't explored James's worlds on World Builder, he's created a bunch of awesome ones. He's got like a medieval themed one called Valiant. Nautica Cruz is underwater themed, which I really love because I'm like a big Pirates of the Caribbean fan, and so this just felt like kind of like a nice return to stuff like that. So how did you come up with that idea, like the idea for Nautica Cruz?
All right, that's actually very interesting. The background that went to Nautica Cruz. I noticed you said that you like it because it's reminiscent of Pirates of the Caribbean, and that's actually a very huge part of it, because I too am a huge Pirates of the Caribbean fan. I don't know if you can see, but right above my pirate ships, I have posters of the movies. I still am a huge fan of Pirates of the Caribbean, and that is partly what went into it. But what went into it mostly is that Nautica Cruz came about as an idea that was supposed to be part of something bigger. Like, you know how I like medieval, I like pirates. Well, I also like superheroes. My favorite's Batman, but I wanted to create my own superheroes, and I was just, to make a long story short, I built my own superhero team, and I was like, I need an underwater themed character. And that's when it occurred to me that a previous idea I had could tie into it, because I have always loved the ocean. I live in an oceanic area. I've always loved pirates and, you know, underwater exploration. So I decided I wanted to make a character that is kind of centered around that, but not in the same way as like previous characters, like say Aquaman or Namor the Submariner from Marvel, where they're more centered around Atlantis and, you know, hidden societies and technology. I wanted a character that was more revolving around the mystery and magic of the ocean. And that's where Nautica Cruz came in. Now, the name Nautica Cruz came about like as inspiration. I remember I saw like a similar name spelled differently, but it was like pronounced differently as well. But I just noticed how Nautica Cruz is a very, well, appropriately nautical sounding name. And that when that's what that became the title character. I mean, that's just a title character name, I think. Just looking at that name written out. And the Adventures of Nautica Cruz is something that came shortly afterward. And from there, I really started going into it was no longer a part of that superhero world I was making. Now it was its own thing, because I realized it could be its own thing, because it definitely had a leg to stand on, per se. It was very much an idea that could evolve, and that's where I took it.
Yeah, I did see a little like one of the storyline elements was like that little like team of superheroes, and you were like, oh, like it's coming soon. And so I was like, I really liked that tease, because I didn't realize that that your worlds were going to be connecting like that. And I think that that's very clever. There's like a couple of different users who are creating different worlds and then like bringing them together. And I find that very, very interesting. I think it really enriches them. And I mean, yeah, like the whole underwater theme is great. Like this whole conversation is just making me want to go to the beach right now. Have you collaborated with other users on the platform? Like, has anyone contributed stuff to Nautica Cruz?
Oh, yes. Actually, there's people have contributed to all kinds of my worlds, but Nautica Cruz hasn't had so many contributions yet, but there's definitely been some positive feedback on the world so far. Like the minifigures, I know, are getting a lot of attention. That's definitely a big part of it. You'll notice all my worlds kind of revolve around minifigures and the builds. Like a lot of worlds on here, you see like CGI renders and drawings, and I'll be honest, I'm not really skilled at either, but minifigures have always been my forte, and that's kind of what I leaned into with these worlds. And those have gotten a lot of feedback, and I feel like it's kind of encouraged people to start going beyond the digital aspect. And yes, the digital aspect, of course, is very important, because your imagination is the limit. But with minifigures, it kind of brings it back to what Lego would do. It's easier to imagine what Lego would do with your stories.
Yeah, and I do really love the minifigures. I'm looking at them right now, especially, I mean, you know, like Nautica Cruz and Davey Jones. I really love how you reused the Hades piece that is from Disney Series 2.
The CMF series, yeah.
Yeah, I thought that was a very clever way to get that kind of like fluid look without just straight up using a tentacle piece from like Atlantis or like Ursula or something like that.
I was tempted to do that too. I was at a point where I was going to change the color scheme of Davey Jones from black to dark red, because you remember, right? The Atlantis squid people had the dark red. Yeah. I was going to do that, but I wanted more black, just kind of, I wanted to give him that kind of tall look. And when I saw that Hades piece, because I love collecting those minifigures, and the Hades piece kind of gives, if you notice, it gives him more height than those other tentacle pieces. So it kind of gives him a foreboding presence. That's what went into that specifically.
Yeah, I really liked that. But, sorry, go ahead.
Nautica Cruz, you mentioned, that minifigure is actually the most interesting, because kind of like not the entire world itself, Nautica Cruz as a minifigure came together more fluidly than I expected, because you'll notice the hairpiece, the red hairpiece, that's from Poison Ivy. Same with the skirt piece, the green seaweedy looking. But the rest of the body, that's how minifigures come about. When I make minifigures, I find interesting parts to use. And I noticed that light aqua, that very bright blue color, it contrasts the green and the red so perfectly. And then it just kind of came together.
And I love that aqua color. That is like one of my favorite Lego colors. And I feel like after seeing the Nautica Cruz minifigure, it's like I cannot think of another minifigure that really uses that aqua color. Like, where did you even get the body parts from?
That is very, very interesting. So we were talking earlier about Pirates of the Caribbean. The Silent Mary set, which I have up there, came with a minifigure named Katrina. Karina, yeah, that's it. She has the torso and arms in light blue. Now, the head is from the penguin from the Lego Batman movie, who had a light aqua head. And the hands were the hardest part to get. The hands are from the CMF series for Disney. That is from the Maleficent figure. I know it comes in a couple other figures, but that one was just the easiest, and even that wasn't even an easy minifigure to get. But that's kind of what contributed to making this minifigure.
That's really awesome. Yeah, I never really thought about, again, you know, like light aqua parts on minifigures until you said it. My Silent Mary is up on a shelf, so I don't see like the minifigures that came in it much. But yeah, like that's really awesome color, and I saw that you like kind of like drew on your own designs, and yeah, I think that that's really awesome. So I really like the minifigures in all of your worlds, not just Nautica Cruz, but especially in Nautica Cruz.
Yeah, I feel like Nautica Cruz is definitely, of my world, it's more of a highlight because of how unique it is. But overall, yeah, I agree.
So what do you like best about Lego World Builder, like as a platform? Have you collaborated on other people's worlds? Like, have you done any contributions, or are you kind of just designing your own?
No, I've definitely contributed as well as done my own worlds you've seen. But like for instance, a world I've contributed to is about the '60s aesthetic. It's by it's another user. I don't know if I can pull it up here, but it's very, very inspirational. Just bringing in genres, and that's the part I love about World Builder. It's kind of bringing in ideas of other Lego genres, genres that Lego has explored before, and ones that haven't been explored before. Like one of my favorite worlds is a Western world, because we haven't seen Lego Western in upwards of, I want to say, maybe 10 years or more. But that's my favorite part of World Builder: discovering new genres as well as rediscovering old ones.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. There's a lot of great throwbacks. Like there's like a Space Police world. I love some of the stuff with like the old timey aesthetics. There's like one with like 50s monsters called Frightsdale. That one's really awesome.
Yeah.
And yeah, definitely the Westerns. I think I have seen, there's a lot of like steampunk and like some Western stuff. So yeah, I definitely agree with that assessment. The Adventures of Nautica Cruz is a really awesome world. It's very different from other pirate things that I've seen on this platform even. And so I'm really happy about that because it's very unique. I really do love all of the fantastical aspects of it, and I hope to see more and more added onto it in the future. And again, this architect is great, so I would highly recommend checking out his other worlds. I've been looking at Valiant before. I saw Eye of Ra, Wolf Princess I think I might have looked at, but I can't wait to, you know, examine all of these other ones as well. Now, if you want to get started on World Builder, I think you could definitely contribute to Nautica Cruz. You know, like some smaller things like places, items, stuff like that, builds, minifigures, art, just all of that stuff would be great additions to Nautica Cruz. But if you want to get started on your own world, you can actually go over to creative prompts because we have new creative prompts. So we're still running the live action animation hybrid one. We would really love to see, you know, more on that. But we've also got a new Ninjago one for the 10th anniversary. So this was a prompt about a year ago that I actually submitted to, and that is like how that short film Golden Hour was created out of my idea. So now LEGO is back to looking for more Ninjago worlds. I'd highly recommend submitting to this because, you know, when LEGO posts a creative prompt, that's stuff that they're really interested in, and I am sure that they're looking for more Ninjago content after how well Golden Hour did. So I definitely recommend checking that out and checking out World Builder in general if you haven't yet. And I think that it's really great that Golden Hour is out now and everyone can kind of see what kind of things are getting produced from World Builder. But that's it for today. So don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys with more videos soon. Bye for now.